Good evening. I call the Wynwood City School Board into session Monday, May the 20th, 2013. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're so glad to see so many community members that were able to come out this evening to celebrate the success of their children. So thank you so much for coming. This is just a reminder, if you have a cell phone, this would be a great time to turn it off so it doesn't embarrass you in the middle of our meeting. Can everybody hear me okay? Or do you need to be pretty close to your microphone when you speak? Mr. Smith?
Okay, do we do roll call?
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call?
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Mrs. Burns?
Here.
Mrs. Emmer? Here. Mr. Pennicott?
Here.
Mr. Cleary?
Here. Mr. Smith?
Okay, very pleased that we have our district honors recognition, gifts, and introductions this evening. So I'd like to begin that right now. Let's begin with the Superintendent's Art Gallery winners from the elementary school with art teacher Mrs. Mary Grace Spalding. Mary Grace, are you here? There she is. The art gallery took place last month on April 16th, where there are many outstanding artists represented. 4 winners were chosen. We'd like to honor them this evening. Each winner will receive a medal for their achievement, which Mr. Cleary has. Our first winner is the Superintendent's Choice Art Award. His recipient is Malaysia Ollinger. Malaysia, are you here? She is. There we go. See, I'm the one that liked the artwork, so there you go. Congratulations. Next, we have the Principal's Choice Art Award recipient, Ubigya Zanubu. I believe she goes by Abigail. And Abigail, if you would please come forward. She's not here.
Show her artwork off.
Framing and matting for this piece, the Superintendent's Choice, was provided by Emeritus Insurance Company in Forest Park. These artworks will be hung in the elementary school until the student either graduates or moves out of the district, at which time the artwork will go to the student. The Wynwood City Schools thanks Emeritus for their many years of support of our fine arts in this way. We also have 2 art honorable mention awards, Leslie Gervasio and Iris Semilak. Are they here this evening? Leslie and Iris? Okay, Iris isn't here. You want to show off the artwork of Iris? This is Iris Sandblack.
Are you Iris? Come on down.
Oh, okay. We got them mixed up, sorry. Our next set of awards is the Kiwanis Character is Key Award, sponsored by the Forest Park Green Hills Kiwanis Club. Both the recipients of these awards are from the Wynwood's Primary North School. Bill, do you want to come on up here? We have Bill McMillan from the Forest Park Green Hills Kiwanis Club.
Well, the only thing, or one of the things I would like to see is things like this, and it's real fun being a member of Kiwanis, getting to find awards like this. There are two sets of awards. Character is key, and those go to Keila Lopez for integrity and Cecilia Dempsey for perseverance. Are these two young ladies here? I'll bet this is Cecilia. Okay. This is in special recognition of your outstanding character trait of perseverance. Pursuing the right answer until you know without a doubt you've done the right thing and completed the task to the best of your ability. Within the character of an individual lies the welfare of the nation. It is character that enables the individual to survive, to endure, and to transcend the negative. Your values reflect your commitment to be a student of good character to your peers, your teachers, your parents, and your community. And congratulations. Keila Lopez? Well, her award will say that it's a special recognition of your outstanding character trait of integrity, showing inner strength to accept responsibility for your actions, doing what is right because it is right, having the courage to take a stand against unfairness, having humor, morality, goodwill, and sportsmanship. And again, within the character of the individual lies the welfare of our nation and his character that enables the individual to survive, endure, and to transcend the negative. And Keila's values reflect her commitment to be a student of good character to her peers, her teachers, her parents, and her community.
Bill, the value.
Yeah, there's a little card along with each one of those awards, and that's a $35 gift certificate to Barnes & Noble. We have two achievement awards, for one each for Sarah Dries and Abigail Yaboa. Did I pronounce that? Are Sarah or Abigail here?
Their representatives, one of the representatives are here.
Sure.
There you go.
Well, good. Hooray. Okay. Let me read it. These awards for the Wynwood City School District Board of Education and the Green Hills Forest Parks and Kiwanis present this certificate to Sarah Dries in special recognition of your selection as Gold Star Kiwanis Student of the Month for May for Winton Woods High School for outstanding academic achievement, enthusiasm, and commitment to service in the community and your school district. And Sarah can take you to the Gold Star with that $25 gift certificate. I guess we'll save this one for Abigail.
Next, we have the Extra Mile Parent Award for 2013. This award is given in honor and recognition of outstanding parent involvement above and beyond in the Wynwood City Schools throughout about the years that their child has attended school in our district. This year we have 3 sets of parents, and they were just, Mrs. Dries was just up here. It's Mrs. Glenn and Barb Dries, Ms. Tanya Jones, and Mrs. Lori Mercer. Parents, if you would, please come forward to accept your awards. Mr. Dave Bell, our district fine arts facilitator and high school choral director, writes us about Glenn and Barb Dries. The Dries family has been very active in a variety of ways. Barb Dries has served in virtually every office for the Friends of the Theater and was this year's president, who has worked as an integral part of helping to establish nonprofit incorporation for the Wynwood's Performing Arts Organization. As a volunteer for the Friends of the Theater, she organized meals for the students during the final weeks of rehearsals, sold program advertisements, organized artwork for the programs and posters, oversaw the printing of the posters and program covers, and organized the posting of the posters, just to name a few things. She has worked hard to keep the FOTT, that's the Friends of the Theater organization, alive in recent years, and also served as a volunteer and chaperone for the Music Boosters. As a member of the Glen Hills City Council, Glenn Dries served on the Wynwood's Facilities Commission and spearheaded the action of the Green Hills City Council to publicly recognize the Wynwood's choir program to further success in the 2012 World Choir Games. Congratulations. About Tanya Jones, we also have Mr. Dave Bell making a comment here. Tanya Jones has been a supportive presence in the many aspects of our high school. Whenever a volunteer is needed, Tanya is there, whether it's the countless hours in the concession stand, helping to prepare and serve students dinner during the final week of production for the spring musical, helping out with costumes or props, or serving as a music chaperone. Not only does Tanya give selflessly, but she is also such a pleasant person with which to work. Her smile lights up a room and makes the task lighter for all involved. One more thing too about Miss, she could go back and sit down, it's a little bit cooler, but Mr. Dwight Campbell, our high school athletic director, says this about Miss Jones. During my 3 years as athletic director, I've had the pleasure of working besides Tanya Jones on many occasions. She is a quiet but very active parent supporter. She has worked at numerous athletic and booster events, and she is always pleasant and helpful. She is eager to volunteer and supports her daughter's many extracurricular activities. I can only hope that Wynwood's will continue to inherit other parents as supportive and energetic as Miss Tanya Jones. Now, Miss Lori Mercer, she's not. Just a comment about Lori Mercer, even though she's not here. This also is from Dwight Campbell, our athletic director. Mrs. Lori Mercer has made a definite impact in the girls' soccer program. She's been a powerful fundraising force during the time her daughter has played here at Wynwood. She has organized baked goods sales, loaded potato sales, and she helps sell Spirit Road. She has a fiery personality, but she has always shown herself to be a great support to the athletic department. We will truly miss the innovative ideas that Ms. Mercer has brought to our fundraising efforts. Congratulations to this year's Extra Mile parents. Next, we have our district's Apple Awards, which are given to teachers or other staff who have been recommended by either an administrator or a parent for exemplary service. For Wynwood's Intermediate School, we have Mr. Joel Weaver, teacher, and Mr. Bruce Hodges, custodian. Gentlemen, please come forward and accept your award. Just to read what has been said, Principal Rachel Phillips had this to say about Joel Weaver. Joel has been a leader in the 6th grade math department. He has mentored beginning teachers and has helped design authentic math lessons to help raise our scores. In the fall, he was instrumental in running our after-school math program. He's a great asset to our school. And about Bruce Hodges from Rachel Phillips. Bruce Hodges is our custodian. He has kept our building clean and safe for our students and staff. He's shown great patience with our students and takes great pride in his work. He will do anything he is asked to do. Congratulations to Mr. Weaver and Mr. Hodges. next set of Apple Award recipients are from the Wynwood Elementary School, Miss Lynn Harris and Miss Karen Fritz, teachers. Right. Miss Harris was nominated by Miss Kimberly Williams, parent of Kenny Williams, who wrote, Miss Harris, Kenny Williams, third grade instructor for reading and social studies, has gone beyond the call of duty. Exclamation point, exclamation point. So this was quite emphatic. She's been on top of her game plan of action for the classroom since the beginning of the school year and has continued to work hard without letting up ever since. She has been answering all of my questions, emails, notes, and even phone calls, and yes, even after school hours to keep me updated on my child's progress. Ms. Harris does not treat my son Kenny as a number, but yes, as an individual, and she's been very inspirational and encouraging. If you could, please give her some kind of recognition, which I think we're doing. Ms. Harris has been a true blessing. Congratulations, Ms. Harris. And for Ms. Karen Fritz, Principal Kendall Dorsey, and he's in the back of the room, had this to say about her. Karen Fritz is a language arts teacher and gifted specialist. She takes leadership in helping students to realize a purpose greater than themselves through her Giraffe Heroes project. Through the Giraffe Heroes project, students learn how to have a big heart, how to be persistent in tough times, and take helpful action. Not only does she teach academics, but she teaches her students to serve others. Congratulations, Karen. Next, we have the 2013 Celebrate Excellence Educator Award. And this year's award winner is Miss Lisa Votal, principal at Wynwood Middle School, who will be recognized by the Hamilton County Educational Foundation for her hard work, dedication, and outstanding contribution to provide educational support to students. She has been named Excellent Educator and will be honored at the Celebrate Excellent Breakfast on May 24th, which is Friday morning. Congratulations, Lisa. Next, I would like to introduce Ms. Laura Wolke of the EF Education First Foundation, who would like to make a presentation to Wynwood High School. Is she here? There she is.
Okay, so I am the International Exchange Coordinator with EF Foundation for Foreign Study, and this is my first year, and I nominated Wynwood High School, and I'm going to say why I nominated the high school. I'm not going to read a letter that just says, oh, they were great. My experiences were, off the bat, wonderful. I was pretty nervous. I didn't, you're new to this position. I had to get high school enrollment forms filled out. I went to the enrollment office, not really knowing anyone. Said, I need to get these filled out. I have a couple students from Germany. I wasn't sure how well I was going to be received. Immediately, Rhonda Hobbs welcomed me in and said, oh, I went to Germany when I was in high school. It's great. Perfect. Signed it, no problem. This happened a few times. I sent in my paperwork, right after she signed it. I actually got emails back from EF saying, okay, I think you're the quickest person that gets their paperwork in. And it wasn't me as much as it was Winton Woods. Quickly does anything. They're so encouraging with foreign exchange, which shows that they trust, they believe that it's a mutual beneficial relationship to bring exchange students in from other countries. They know that our students learn from other students. So they're willing to trust the process and open their arms up to these students. Every time I have called Mr. Jones or Dr. Holden to do a presentation or simply set up shop, always get a yes. They're always welcoming and say, yeah, bring your stuff up. We want the students here. EF Foundation had a unique opportunity this year to last minute really bring in a couple hundred students after school had begun. So Winton Woods, again, I was new to the position. I said, I've got a couple students. I found some host families last minute. Mr. Jones, oh yeah, bring them on. We're ready. I had one come. Her first day was September the 5th. I also had it, and she's from Spain. She's still here. She's had an absolutely wonderful year. I have another student from Thailand. She came not until September the 14th. She is still here. She raves about Winton Woods. She loves the school. She really doesn't want to go back to school in Thailand. So it's definitely bittersweet for her. those are just a few of the examples I wanted to share with you all, and I believe really it's Dr. Holden's attitude of openness and the global leadership has just trickled down to everyone I've encountered at Winton Woods. And Mr. Jones, of course, amazingly welcomes these students, talks Spanish off the bat with Joanna, helped me today, on numerous occasions, but helped me specifically today get this paperwork done so that her school year here would be valid and she does not have to retake her 10th grade school year. So again, they just reach out eagerly, everyone at Winton Woods High School, and I just want to say thank you. So I nominated them, and here we have a Global Education Excellence Award from EF Foundation, and hopefully Mr. Jones will put this on his desk, and yeah, I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilkie, for your support through the EF Foundation of Wynwood City Schools. Very much appreciated. And last, under gifts, special thanks goes to the Hillman Group for donating 20 Google Chromebooks to Winton Woods Elementary School to strengthen students' access to up-to-date technology. Their generous donation is valued at $5,000. And that concludes, and I think in a very efficient and wonderful manner, our district honors, recognition, gifts, and introductions.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. If you're a parent or a grandparent or a cousin or an aunt and you brought a student here with you this evening, would you stand so we could recognize you? Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for bringing your student out this evening. At this time, we'll take a short 10-minute recess. So this is a great chance for you to take your student home and prepare for the summer. Thank you. We're out of recess. Were there any comments from the public this evening? Are you sure? Okay.
Take care.
With no comments, we'll move on to approval of minutes. Board, in your packet was a copy of the minutes from our most regular meeting in April the 22nd. We need a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes from the regular meeting, April 22nd, 2013.
Second.
Mr. Seymour?
Mr. Thomas? Aye. Mrs. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Emmer?
Aye.
Mr. Pennycuff?
Aye.
Mr. Cleary?
Aye. 6.0 Treasurer's Report, Mr. Seymour.
Basically, we're through as you know, through the month of April. Year-to-date revenues were at 37.8. We collected 1.6 million, and as you know, we collected our homestead and rollback during the month of April. All real estate taxes are now in, and I'm glad to report that we're about 343 or 45,000 over projections. That helps. General fund expenditures year to date are at 32.5, and we're currently at 4% under budget, which is another good sign. And so the general fund ended the month of April with a uncommitted balance of 10.6 million. That's basically a summary. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Board, are there any questions?
On the investment report, you'll notice that the one CD that my predecessor was able to lock in a nice rate for a long period of time will go away this month. In our attempt to try to do a likewise, it just didn't work out. But you can see that we did get 0.3 instead of 0.03. So we did lock in $1 million on some small CDs over the next anywhere from a year to a year and a half. And with that, we earned interest of $1,753.18.
Thank you. If there are no comments on the financial statements, we'll refer those off to audit. Treasurer's recommendations. 5-year forecast.
I really don't have a recommendation. I just wanted to inform the board that in light of the pending legislation on funding for next year, I will submit the October 5-year forecast for your May update, and then we will update that when we have concrete evidence of funding for next year and have a better understanding of where we're headed for state funding. I understand the Senate version came out, and there weren't many financial implications among their changes, mostly curricular in nature and teacher certification. So we'll have to wait and see if the House recommendations hold up over the governor's recommendations. And we may know that by June 30th. So I just wanted to let you know that you will be in compliance, but it's the same 5-year forecast as you have previously adopted.
Board, we need a motion for investments.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the investment recommendations as so noted by Mr. Seymour.
Second. Mr. Seymour?
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Emmert?
Aye.
Mr. Pennicuff?
Aye.
Mr. Cleary?
Aye. Reports of the superintendent. Mr. Smith?
Well, thank you, Mr. Cleary. First thing I have are the reports, upcoming school events from the building, also school reports, the leadership team meeting minutes, and Race to the Top minutes are all in your board docs. I should comment that since this is the last week of school, that the school events pretty much end this week, and that's that. The major school event is Thursday night. That is graduation for the class of 2013 at the Cintas Center. That's at 7 o'clock, I do believe. And so we send off 260 of our seniors into the world of graduation. Next thing I have is the first read on 3 board policies. The first one is the 3rd grade reading guarantee policy and the students' personal communication devices policy, which were in the board docs, and then the one that we spent quite a bit of time on over the past several months, insofar as working with our teachers and also a lot of work by Courtney Wilson, our head of HR and legal services. So we have the OTES policy, which is titled Standards-Based Teacher Evaluation Replacement Policy. So I'd recommend you take a look at those. I will come back with a recommendation in June for action by the board at that particular point. If you have any questions at this point, Ms. Wilson is here, and so just see if we have any questions at this point. Okay, well, if you certainly can email myself or Ms. Wilson if you have some thoughts and questions over the next few weeks. Moving on to superintendent's recommendations, I would begin with personnel schedules. You have 5 different schedules in your board docs, and would recommend that's the slate from those 5 schedules, schedules A, C, D, E, and M. So would recommend that the board take action on those.
Board, what's your...
Mr. President, I move the approval of personnel schedules A, C, D, E, and M.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Mr. Seymour?
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Emmert?
Aye.
Mr. Pennicuff?
Aye.
Mr. Cleary?
Aye.
Thank you, board. Moving on to the resolution to participate in state and federal programs. Mr. Denny, would you like to make a couple comments?
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Good evening, Board. Board, you should have before you a report titled 2012-2013 Title 4B IDEIA Federal Grant Budget. This is one of the requirements of accepting this funding, is that we approach the public with an opportunity to speak into this budget. So I wanted to at least share with you and the public the budget as it stands. The other comment I could add is that it does fund, the vast majority of the funding is in personnel, as you can see. It's under salaries and retirement fringe benefits. And it does currently fund 7 teachers, 5 instructional assistants, and 1 full-time dedicated clerical support specialist. So I'd certainly be happy to entertain any questions you might have, and also provide a chance on record for any public who might appear this evening to render comment on the expenditures for IDEA funds, special education funding. Hearing none, I thank you for your time. I don't believe we have any public here this evening to speak, so let the record show that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Denny. Board, we need a motion.
I move to approve the resolution to participate in state and federal programs as presented.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Emmert?
Aye.
Mr. Pennicuick?
Aye.
Mr. Cleary?
Aye.
I believe we have one of our new teachers who was just hired by the board here. Would you stand, please? Is this Samantha? Samantha Brock? Welcome to Wynwood.
Did you want to say anything?
Kindergarten.
All right.
Kindergarten, right? Am I correct on that? Kindergarten? And in what building? Primary South. And I think she has a very enthusiastic supporter in this, and our fine principal, Miss Bray here, so congratulations again.
Welcome to the Winton Woods family.
Next thing I have to recommend to the board this evening is a minimal increase in our school lunch prices, a dime, I think, on 2 levels, and then for the a la carte, I don't think there's any increase at all, so would recommend this to the board. I think it's really required by the federal support program that we have to match that with our prices. And that's kind of an odd thing. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it is a requirement. So we do have a small increase to recommend to you this evening for next school year.
Board, we need a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the recommendation of the 10-cent increase on lunch prices for next year.
Second. Any discussion? Any comments? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour?
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Emmert?
Aye.
Mr. Pennicuick?
Aye.
Mr. Cleary?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to a rite of spring, and that is the resolution that every board in the state of Ohio ends up doing, which is a resolution authorizing continued membership in the Ohio School Athletic Association. So would recommend that to you this evening. And you saw on board docs the resolution itself, which is actually somewhat lengthy, but we'd recommend we go ahead with that.
Mr. President, I move the approval of the resolution for our continued membership in the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour?
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Emmert?
Aye.
Mr. Pennicuick?
Aye.
Mr. Cleary?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to another rite of spring, and that is the textbook adoptions for next school year. And this, we had I won't say it's a first read on those, but we had those displayed, and a number of you have taken an opportunity to take a look at them, so it is the point now for adoption, so would recommend that list to you. It's the social studies at the middle school, high school math, science, and AGS, business and technology. I think that completes the list, so would recommend that we go ahead with those adoptions.
Board, what's your pleasure?
I move that we approve the proposed textbooks for adoption as presented.
Second. Any discussion or comments?
Question. Mr. Smith, can you tell me what's the general process when it comes to textbook selection? Is it something that the principals bring forward, or the teachers bring forward, or the curriculum instruction? How do these usually come up?
Typically comes from teacher teams back in the buildings. Sometimes, when you take a look at some series, for example, like reading or math, there typically is a lot of different products that they take a look at and come up with one that they like, or one they think that fits. But there's also some considerable input from the principal and from our Division of Teaching and Learning. Helps drive that process. It all kind of culminates up here. So there's quite a bit of input on the part of staff, really from the teachers on up till it gets to the board.
So the subject matter teachers actually get to take a look
Oh,
at
yes.
these before? Okay,
Yes. Oh, yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Board, any other comments or questions?
This is just a side comment, but the books I previewed are so heavy. You could almost grant a physical ed credit for carrying those things home. They're much, I weighed two of them and they were about 8 pounds each. Incredible. So that tells me that we're getting closer to the point of just having books on the computer when they get to be that heavy, particularly for small students.
Yeah, they're all pretty good size, actually. There's none of them all that small.
This is probably a good time to introduce this as part of this, at least to comment on this in this area, is I took about 90 minutes and I reviewed them, and I couldn't tell you if they're a 10 in terms of a score of the best textbook, or a 5 or a 3. They seemed like good textbooks. It was a bottom up from the teaching staff all the way up. I know the building leadership teams were involved in the process, which includes community members. They're probably in the same spot I'm in when it comes to reviewing textbooks, not really knowing. But my real comment there about this is, kind of came up, Dr. Sokol, 2 board meetings ago, talked about our textbooks being available online. And I went out to try and search that. It was very cumbersome to find, but I finally did find it. That probably is an enhancement to the website that we need to make somehow, but so it's easier to find the search bar. And I just found it. It's the bottom left-hand side of the page. It's kind of hidden down there. And when you type in the publisher, Prentice Hall Books, then it takes you to a link. You put in your child's password, and then those books are available to you. So I'm glad to see that they're available online, but parents probably would struggle just like I did. It took me probably 90 minutes just constantly looking to find where they're at. So, but I'm glad to see that we've implemented that and the textbooks are now available online.
And we
especially
need to
with-
make that, the access more user-friendly, and so that's going to be a focus over the summer.
Any other comments on textbooks? Mr. Seymour?
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Emmert?
Aye.
Mr. Pennicuick?
Aye.
Mr. Cleary?
Aye.
Okay, thank you much. Now on to a rather lengthy list of recommended proposed board policies that we did a first read on last month. Ms. Wilson, would you like to come up and kind of walk us through that, or I don't know if you have questions. If there's no questions, I suppose she can stay put. But
Board, were there any specific questions in any of the policies? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour?
We need
Oh,
a motion.
sorry, we need a motion.
Sorry.
I'm not going to read all the numbers. I'm just going to move to approve the proposed board policies as presented.
I'll second.
Mr. Seymour?
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Emmert?
Aye.
Mr. Pennicuick?
Aye.
Mr. Cleary?
Aye.
okay, thank you. Probably one of the larger adoptions I've seen in all my years as a superintendent. We're doing 20 in one swoop there, so that was a pretty good number there. Moving on to a 2013-2014 cost savings plan. I got a couple comments on this. understand, as Mr. Seymour has already described to the board, we don't really know what our state funding looks like for next year, and that's 30% of our budget. What you have here is the beginnings of a process to make the staffing a bit more efficient, especially in the lower grade levels in our special, in our music, art, PE. It also relates to previous decisions made on Spanish and Chinese, not to offer Spanish and Chinese as a regular item at the elementary building and the intermediate building, and instead begin that at the middle school. However, I should also preface this by saying there's a very good chance that I'll come back with an adjustment on this in June once we know more. And so I would say to the board this evening that approval would let us go ahead and begin the process of adjusting staffing for next year as is stated in the cost savings plan, but also to take a look at a couple things that we feel are needed to be plugged back in, and we factor that into the plan. One would be to add a math support person at the high school to help with Algebra 1. We have a lot of kids who struggle with algebra. We require 4 credits at the high school, and frankly, if kids can't pass Algebra 1, then they're likely to drop out on us. And so this is a way to address our dropout problem, as well as to help support ACT test scores, which are weak at the high school. The other is simply a person to help with our student fees. That's become an issue for us simply with collection. We typically, as Mr. Seymour would say, the high school becomes a collection agency for the rest of the buildings. So really the person we're talking about, the clerical position we're talking about, would be a way to really kind of help support that and take some of that burden off the high school staff, which the high school staff currently has. So I'd recommend that we go ahead with this and be prepared to answer questions you might have at this point.
Mr. Smith, and I think I provided this question before, recognizing that the district about 2.5 years ago established 3 kind of district-wide priorities, one being parent and community engagement. Is there any resources that are attached specifically to increase engagement with parents in the community?
We did vet this through, I believe, the Finance Committee, that particular meeting out of John and Randy. So it went down that road. Really what you have here from the perspective of parents and children in the community is there is not really a change in programming. We're not eliminating programming other than the foreign language, which we've talked about at length at community meetings, including a number of board meetings. It's actually also in the 6-month plan. So what you have right now really essentially are a list of vacant positions that the plan would be at this particular point not to fill. But I can tell you that if we see an increase in funding, and if we see some changes with that 30% that maybe drives us one way or another, I could actually come back with further reductions or come back with plugging some of these people, or some people back into some of these vacants. So it's a very fluid situation. I think we recognize that. We'll know a heck of a lot more by the end of next month. At that point, we'll have a really good idea of what funding is going to be like for next year. I don't know if I really answered that in regards to any broad public informational campaign on this. I think the main thing to keep in mind is that, as it stands right now, this is not a change in programming for kids. It is really a more efficient way to staff the district, especially in the lower grade levels, to save us some money and to without a real cost in programming.
And Mr. Smith, I guess I was really asking, the district has 3 established priorities, and my question really was, is there anything in the budget that...
In this plan, you mean?
That aligns budget dollars to the priority of increasing parent and community engagement?
I can't really think of where this matches up with that. I will say that most certainly if our goal is to address our academic issues, and I know it is, that it does address some of those.
And I guess my second question was, particularly with music and art, and there's been lots of discussion throughout the year and different thoughts around what may or may not happen to music or art. And I guess it would help me to better understand if parents, community stakeholders in any manner has been a part of any of those discussions about potentially reducing music and art offerings. I know that's been such a big discussion, and I'm a little uncomfortable with a small group here unless that's been on the table before and there's been some ongoing conversation.
Well, we're not really cutting programming. So if that's a concern, and that's not part of this plan. Right now we have essentially in art and in music, people working, 50 to 60% from a classroom assignment perspective. We really don't have a very efficient setup in those lower grade levels in those subject areas. So we're not cutting programming.
Are we cutting opportunities? I guess I'm trying to understand if we're cutting a music teacher and an art teacher, I assume this year those teachers are delivering music and art. And I'm not suggesting that music and art will totally disappear, but are we not reducing the number of opportunities?
No. What we're going to, the first thought was to have teachers travel between buildings. Our buildings are close, 5 minutes apart. It can work. Now we've gone to another model, which actually Terry Sokol worked out with the principals today, in which we would block out from a special perspective, say music for a semester at a particular building, and then maybe flip that to art the next semester. And that's how we're going to deliver services for next year. But it does not decrease the amount of time we're offering. We're just blocking it up different. We're packaging it different.
But if I could add on a comment, it does stretch it to the limit. I have been part of, my family has been part of traveling music teachers, art on a cart, all of those kinds of things that schools do when they're short on money to try to keep the programming, but it takes it right to the limit. And as you know, some of our music was pushed to out of school time, which, although it was still offered, only 40% of the students that were previously in that activity came after school when it was not. So, yes, it's available, but it's right at the limit.
One thing I will say is that the intermediate school was the building in which which music ended up beyond the school day, after school. We are working on transportation for those kids for next year because transportation was a real issue. When you push it beyond the school day, that is music, and then you don't provide transportation, then that's a real issue. And so the plan for next year is to provide busing, and I've worked with Mr. Denny on that to try to, we just run a lot of tiers with our busing. That's possible. It's really a matter of how transportation can work out the number of buses needed for each tier, and if you add those kids in, then we have to adjust for that. So actually, we hope to improve the offerings at intermediate, and that's what Mr. Pennycuff is referring to.
And my final question, has there been, someone mentioned that this has been discussed at the financial budget meeting, were parents, community members a part of that discussion? I'm just trying to understand. Most people, if they see the reduction of a FTE in music, a reduction of a FTE in art, those are resources. So some individuals will assume that we are reducing fine arts offerings. We're reducing the amount of resources allocated to finance, to fine arts offerings. So my concern is that we're doing that. Have we had some input from the community? Are they aware? Are they on board? Are they Have they been a part of that discussion and, quite honestly, a part of the decision?
Well, I can tell you, since this was presented to us a week ago, I've had several discussions with members of the community, one as late as 5:30 this afternoon, with people who were trying to understand the impact on art. So I presume that, I hope that all of us took advantage of the prior notice to work that in addition.
Am I to understand that that means that there's been no sort of a formal sharing with parent and community members of what this is, other than some informal, I see you at the neighborhood store and I kind of talk to you a little bit?
Yeah, there's been some formal. It's been introduced at the PTA, a selected small group. The building leadership teams, there's parents involved in the BLT meetings as well. Is that a deep pool? I'm not sure how to define the pool's that deep, but
And that was introduced, I guess, prior to Monday, because the first time I saw it was Monday at 6:30.
we've been working on reductions for 6 months. The conversation has been going on for about 6 months. What it was going to look like, we began to see it a month ago, roughly, some of the details of it.
Mr. Smith, I do have one question for you. I'm sorry, Mr. Thomas, are you finished?
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned that based on how the funding kind of plays out, some of this is rather fluid. So is there something here that's absolutely concrete, regardless of how the funding turns out? So I can kind of wrap my mind around what's a sure thing and what's a maybe?
I think we have the opportunity to bring back the music position that may be in the offing. I would say, if looking beyond that, the one that really probably drives more conversation than anything else is are some of the projections for the middle school, trying to better support the math over at the middle school. So that's one thing we're taking a look at. Understand too, as we with the turnover of staff in this particular time of year, even since we put this plan together, we've had several resignations that when you take a look at replacing those individuals, that there's savings there that might also come into play here. So what I would recommend to the board is that understand this is the beginning of a process. Those resignations and replacements will play themselves out over the next 30 days. On top of that, we'll have the state budget come in. We'll know a heck of a lot more by the time we have our regular meeting in June. But by approval tonight, that means we can go ahead with especially with the clerical position and the math position at the high school, to go ahead and take a look at those and proceed with that. There is one art position, a lady who may be laid off there. But again, we have some potential movement within the department, in which layoff may not be necessary because we've got some folks who may not come back. Also, too, I talked with Dave Bell on music. That situation is rather fluid, too, because we have some people. We have a lady, for example, who is accepting a position at CCM, a doctoral program. She'll probably be leaving us. We've already lost one teacher who's gone to Princeton to head up their music department. So, again, this is real fluid. I think it will get there in about 30 days.
So kind of bottom line is, this is the starting point. The kids are not losing art and music in the lower grades. It just might look a little bit different, and maybe at our end of year ceremonies that the principals can maybe share a little bit with the parents that are there, that might look different, but your child will not be losing art and music, next year, and then we'll see how the budget plays out.
We're going to package it up a little different insofar as how it's offered.
Right.
But I would say stay tuned to the board as we take a look at where all of this may go, the cuts that is, over the next 30 days.
As we get the test scores in for our lower grades, there'll still be accommodations made, and the budget will still be fluctuating to support whatever RTI we need to do when we recognize exactly where the problem is.
Yeah, we hope we don't see weaknesses, but again, we may have to adjust.
And with respect to math, I want to make sure I heard you clearly, because at one point I thought I heard you say middle school, and then I'm reading here high school. so-
Actually, middle school isn't even on this, but we have a teacher retiring mid-year next year. The question has been, should we replace her or when she leaves? And from a scheduling perspective, the middle school is we're trying to get that one ironed out. The thinking, it's the reason why we left her off the list, but that position could have been added in here because it makes that schedule work if you have the position funded for the entire year and go ahead and replace her. So we're working through these things kind of one by one.
So the high school math, I'm sorry, that you mentioned here, you mentioned that it was to help with Algebra 1. So
Yes.
is that really remediation, or is that something
It's a
that's,
support position, a little bit different than what I described to the board last week. It's and I really, and Terry's not here to answer, and Kevin, if I would have thought to ask him before he took off, I'm not sure if it's credit or not. I think it is. But in effect, it's a way to support the kids enrolled in algebra with in effect, a help teacher who can help support those students who are weak in algebra. I think I described it to the board last week as pre-algebra, but really it's more of a support for those kids already enrolled in algebra.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
No, we don't. We just want straight to discussion.
Well, to get us back in parliamentary order, I move the approval of the cost savings plan pending further news.
Second.
Any other discussion or any particular items of discussion within the budget? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour?
Mr. Thomas?
I want to make sure I qualify my vote on is going to be no, but I want to qualify it. I'm not so much have a concern of whether we cut a teacher from music, cut a teacher from art, or any of the cuts. My concern is what sort of engagement have we provided to parents and community members on such a critical issue? And I encourage our team, as we make decisions on such critical areas, that we do that. So my answer is no.
Mrs. Burns?
aye.
Mrs. Emmert?
Aye.
Mr. Pennycuff?
Aye.
Mr. Cleary?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. That completes my recommendations for this evening.
Board of Education reports. Mr. Pennycuff?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'll be brief tonight because we've got a lot of other things that require our time. If you're reading the newspapers or watching TV at all, the news from Columbus, the House Bill 59 continues to change almost daily. One of the major trends that we were not able to stop is the continued introduction of resolutions and amendments to send more of our tax money over to charter schools. So that's a major theme that is actually picking up speed in Columbus. And just today, we talked about the third grade guarantee. Just today, the leadership of the House Education Committee introduced 16 potential changes to the third grade guarantee. So if even some of those changes are implemented in law, the third grade guarantee may not be the right wording anymore. It may be the third grade sort of, maybe kind of tentative guarantee. We'll just have to wait and see how those last minute changes. Some of them are very practically based. That is, there are regions of Ohio where you literally can't find enough teachers with a reading endorsement. So what do you do for those? What do you make those school districts do if there's nobody to be hired within 75 miles of their school? Other of the changes being proposed are sort of ideologically based. So stay tuned. As with Senate Bill, House Bill 59, the budget bill, it looks like that the third grade guarantee that we just adopted the policy on tonight will emerge in a different form than we think we know of it. And that would conclude my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Pennycuff. Mrs. Emmert?
Thank you, Mr. President. I attended the Great Oaks Board meeting on May the 8th. We recognized the outstanding seniors from the 4 campuses with a meal and then had our meeting afterwards. On May the 16th, I attended the senior recognition at Scarlett, where a majority of our seniors go. 3 of our seniors that evening received scholarships and grants. I was on stage, not able to write down the amounts they all got, but Olivia Nightingale received a $500 scholarship. Jasmine Bear received some type of award, and then Carriana Springer received a grant. And of the seniors that that were recognized at Scarlett, because those students will graduate from their home school, 281 college credits were awarded to the seniors that were in those classes and passed that college work. And when they put the value on those college credits, it was valued at $166,000 at a local college. So parents, when they received those credits, also saved money next fall when those students would be enrolling in either 2-year or 4-year colleges. So I want to congratulate those students.
Thank you, Mrs. Emmert. Committee reports? Do you have any report this evening, Mrs. Burns?
Only that the Financial Advisory Council will meet tomorrow evening and scheduled to review the financial forecast and the current financial position of the district, as well as current funding proposals.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
The Student Achievement Committee met last Monday on May the 13th. Had a wonderful presentation by Mr. Denny regarding the 4-year and 5-year graduation. That's something the committee really wanted to better understand. We also had various discussion about student achievement based on subgroups. Our work moving forward during our June 10th meeting will be focused on developing or finalizing, or coming close to finalize, a staff and students kind of recognition of excellence. So more information will be forthcoming, with the idea that after the July Student Achievement Committee meeting, that a proposal will be presented to the board for its review and consideration.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. The Communications and Communication Data Community Engagement Committee have met. We're still compiling the data. We look forward to our having the report completed and our recommendation by the June meeting. Hopefully that'll coincide with a new superintendent, so we can pass that off to the new superintendent as well for consideration, hopefully. While this is not part of in the fixed agenda, I'd like to report on the superintendent search and where we are in that, so the community knows. We've already had our first round interviews with candidates. We hope to we're meeting this evening in executive session to shorten the list to 3. And our second interviews with our candidates will occur Tuesday, May the 28th and Wednesday, May the 29th. Those will occur in executive session at the board offices, with hopes that on Thursday, May the 30th, we'll select 2 final candidates. Monday, June the 3rd, we will have a all-community meeting, so those in the community have an opportunity to meet our 2 prospective candidates. Immediately following that, we'll be selecting a candidate. Comments from the Board of Education and Superintendent?
Mr. President, I just wanted to share that I had the pleasure of attending on May the 9th the Best Practices Workshop that was organized by high schools that work of Southwest Ohio. We had 2 presentations from our school district, the middle school humanities program and the high school response to intervention cadre of teachers. So those 2 presentations were made, and I would guess there were 175 teachers, principals, few superintendents from around Southwest Ohio, And both of those presentations were well received. They were well done, well received, and generated lots of questions. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? I have a few items. One, I'd like to thank our host this evening. Thank you for going to all the trouble to prepare to have the board do a meeting here in your building, and I appreciate all your hard work and the parents that you recruited to come. It's always a lot of fun to recognize the parent and the student in their home school, so thank you for all your hard work there. As well as the preliminary results have come out from the OGT testing at the high school. And so far, we've met 4 out of the 5 indicators, and we may meet 5 out of 5, but right now it's 4 out of 5 for sure. They're to be applauded. That's more than just a blip on the radar. To me, this is evidence of the things that we've done in the last 2 to 3 years are finally coming home to roost. Hopefully this is just the beginning, and we continue to move towards excellence at the high school. So congratulations to everyone that has just worked really hard to make that happen. Any other comments? Mr. Thomas, you and Mr. Pennycuff, I want to thank you. You've worked on the new job description for superintendent, and I'll let you take it from there. But thank you for working collaboratively to produce that document.
Absolutely. And I believe everyone has a copy of the revised job description. And I assume, I don't know that do we need to formally approve this, or?
Yes.
Then if that's the case, I present this revised job description for consideration.
I will second that.
Any comments or questions? I just have one comment. You thought of everything in that, and it made real sense to whoever the next superintendent is. It will be very clear for them to understand this is what I'm responsible for. It's a little bit longer than I usually see that kind of document, but it is clear. I thank you for taking all your time to put that together. As well as there's another sheet of paper that's with that, and that's not part of your motion, and that is the 90-day work plan and evaluation for an expectation for the superintendent. Thanks for putting that together as well.
Absolutely.
Were there any other comments on the job description? Mr. Seymour?
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Emmert?
Aye.
Mr. Pennycuff?
Aye.
Mr. Cleary?
Aye. Thank you. Any comments from the board, from any of the association members? Seeing none? Mrs. Burns?
Mr. President, I move that we move into executive session for the purpose of discussing the hiring of the new superintendent.
Second.
Mr. Thomas? Yes. Mrs. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Emmert?
Aye.
Mr. Pennycuff?
Aye.
Mr. Cleary?
Aye. Thank you.
Hit your gavel.
No. Meeting adjourned.
John, you got the office open? We'll meet